Thank you for the opportunity to bring you up to date with the work that we are doing, and to the other speakers. It will be interesting to hear what you say. Ferry Holdings Limited was set up on the 1st of April last year, and we had a fairly tight restricted mandate, which was 2 ships, 2 rebuilt port ferry infrastructure, and then working with an operator and some commercial decisions. What we did first was the board considered when we were going to order the ships, and the board, up to a fortnight before the contract that the ship was signed, were not prepared to agree to that ship until we had an assurance that the port infrastructure was going to be delivered by 2029. Both IREX and Tasmania were ending up with ships that were going to sit for a period before they could be used, and we didn't want that with this project. So we designed 2 vessels as RoPax, which just happened to have 10 ribbons of steel embedded in the vehicle deck. And that's important because the vessels can actually be used as RoPax. So in the case of, for example, earthquakes or whatever, potentially they could go to Littleton or Napier in places where they can use it in a RoPax mode. So there is a ramp designed for RoPax should that eventual. In the 2 ports, we are working closely, and Sandip will bring you up to date with where the ports are. But part of the work with the ports is to actually streamline and speed loading and unloading. So in Picton, you'll have noticed that the overbridge has been taken down. When it's replaced, it is going to be dual laned as well as up and down. So trucks and trains will still go below, but there will be dual loading at the top, which speeds both loading and unloading. The other difference you'll notice is that there will be no passenger elevated walkway. Passengers are going to be put onto the ship through an airline style air bridge at deck level, in the old term, level C, but it's whatever it is, deck level 4 now I think it's called. And they were going through there straight onto a bank of elevators and so forth, which will take them up to the deck 7 where the main thing is. So we won't have the high passenger loading. One of the things that we did when we looked at the vessels was to ensure that they were environmentally friendly going ahead. And so they are diesel electric hybrid, so they have batteries. They have 2 azipods and 3 bow thrusters, so that they are now in a position where they are safer than the current ferries, in that their power ratio to the vessel is actually greater than any of the 4 vessels that are working at the moment. It also means that they are safer, and this may come as a surprise, but the most dangerous part of the trip between Wellington and Picton is actually entering into the Wellington heads. It's not in the Sounds, Tory Channel or anywhere there. It is actually going into the Wellington heads. And so the manoeuvrability is important. The batteries also allow the vessel to have a return to port. And that, again, is something that we have planned within the vessel. It's that safe return to port. The vessels themselves, and I keep repeating this, it's 200 by 28 by 20 by 1530 by 70 and so forth. I'll explain. It's 200 metres long. It's 28 metres in beam plus a belting that goes around the side. It's 20 knots. It's 6.5 metre draft. It has 1530 passengers and 70 crew. It's got 10 decks, and it doesn't have a dog walking area that was on the previous ships. And it's a 20 knot, and at the moment 20 knot through the Sounds as well, so that the trip through the Sounds, the design of the hull enables it to come through the Sounds without the wave energy that the existing 2 K boats have. And so that speeds up the trip to around about 2 hours 50, 55, subject to normal, weather conditions. when we look at this project, the other thing that we take into account is, as Dom has already indicated, we aren't looking at this as a two-ship, two-port exercise. This is actually about New Zealand's roading and rail network. It enables the mainland to be connected to the North Island by both road and rail. So that State Highway 1, we've got one lane and Blue Bridge has got the other lane for State Highway 1. And we also have a rail link which enables the main North Line to be connected to the North Island's main trunk line. So it is a project that is seen in the wider context of New Zealand's transport infrastructure. So it's not just what we are working on within the narrow confines of here. So I think I've probably said enough at the moment. We'll let Sandip talk about the complicated part of it. The only other point I want to make is the reason that the project has been set up the way it is, Ferry Holdings is independent, so it's not interested in running ships, it's not interested in operating ports, and therefore it's able to negotiate between the groups without having a particular interest in one or other of those areas. We have a tight timeline. One of the K boats will disappear at some point early 2029, so we need the vessels here. And the last point, which the board is very conscious of, we have a tag contingency, which the Minister of Finance quite often just reminds us, that's your money, there's no more, go away and build it, which is why the project was set up as a maximum reuse, minimum product. So I'll leave it at that and let's end it.
Good afternoon, everyone. Dom, thank you very much for the welcome and the setup. Appreciate it. We know that we're speaking to a room full of people who get paid for reliability. We know you have to move freight when you say you will. We know you manage fleets, drivers, fuel, compliance and margins. And if something doesn't turn up on time, we know you'll feel it immediately, both commercially and reputationally. In that sense, we're kind of the same. We're actually in the same business. At Ferry Holdings, we are kind of not in the ferry business, we're in the reliability business. The Cook Strait crossing isn't steel and concrete alone. It's certainty in the middle of a national supply chain that the other speakers have already covered. And when that crossing doesn't work, the impact ripples right through the country, your depots, your customers, and your balance sheets. So reliability is the product we're looking to achieve. In your world, one unit, one truck can throw out a day's schedule. In our world, one vessel out of service or one port asset not ready can disrupt the country's supply chain. That's why we're focused on reliability, a rail-enabled fleet integrated with port infrastructure that's built to last. But I want to be clear about something. Infrastructure is a tough game. We're building major marine works in tidal environments with freight passengers that must keep moving. That requires staging, temporary works, sequencing, and sometimes patience from those operating in the construction zone. And we know that that construction affects you. Yeah, you can flip through for me, boss. Thank you. We know that that construction affects you. We know that traffic flows create temporary constraints that add friction to already tight schedules. That disruption is not invisible to us. But execution is everything. In your business, I think, freight, margin is made in execution, route planning, fuel management, driver performance, and maintenance discipline. In infrastructure, it's no different. Program sequencing across shipbuilding and port works is critical. Managing contractors in constrained live environments, making decisions early so issues don't compound. This program will be challenging. Heavy civil construction always is. Add it to a live marine environment and it becomes high risk that threatens constructors' margins. The weather won't cooperate, and the ground conditions won't behave. Multi-party environments, add that in, and it challenges all of us even further. But what gives me confidence isn't that it's easy, because it isn't. It's because we've got good people, good organisations working really hard. The teams here that are represented here today employ engineers, planners, commercial teams, port operators across various organisations, and we're aligned around one objective, and that's keeping the country connected. As Chris said, we're building a system, not an asset. It relies on shipyards, ports, rail, regulators, funding partners, and interestingly, no one organisation controls everything. Delivering our system relies on you. It's not lost on us how interdependent we are with transport operators for the next 3 years. Frankly, we'll need the goods delivered to our sites by freight operators just so we don't disrupt you any further. Which is why relationships matter. Not because it sounds good, because fragmentation kills momentum. I've built a variety of infrastructure developments, and I've learnt the hard way that alignment keeps project momentum moving. So we'll be heroic with our risk management. It'll be a daily business, just like you manage risk every day: weather, fatigue, mechanical failure, fuel volatility. We manage marine conditions, seismic exposure, construction interfaces, and supply chain pressures. Different risks, same discipline. We identify early, allocate clearly, manage actively, and don't assume that it'll sort itself out. We're staging construction carefully, so ferry services, port activity, and freight movements can continue throughout our delivery. It isn't accidental, we'll have to be deliberate, because we know we're building a future system, but the current system must keep running. And we respect that you're operating inside that environment that we're disrupting. So yeah, infrastructure is a tough game. The program's complex, but complexity isn't the excuse. It demands discipline. It requires careful sequencing and steady execution. These things together should deliver strong monitoring and no surprises. It'll cause disruption at times, but it is being delivered by capable people that care deeply about this outcome. And it is being delivered for one reason: to restore certainty and a long-term reliability to the Cook Strait crossing. We'll lead this program because our masters demand clear accountability, strong governance, and transparent reporting. We're sequencing the work carefully so it keeps freight moving. And at the same time, we know construction affects you. We don't dismiss that, we understand it, and we want continued practical engagement with you as operators. Because the better we understand your real-world pressures, the better we can manage disruption and deliver on the right long-term solution. Thank you.